Hi, and welcome everyone to another edition of the FTW podcast. FTW is a weekly WWE and TNA discussion where fans talk the wrestling world in all of its laughable glory. This is episode 221, recorded live on July 1st, 2014 on FTWLive.com. Tonight, we react to this past Sunday's WWE Money in the Bank, as well as the fallout on Raw and how WWE is moving forward without Daniel Bryan on the road to SummerSlam. Plus, with EY chasing the title, will EY chasing the title be better than EY holding the title as TNA heads into New York City? All that and the rest of the week that was in WWE and TNA. With us tonight is Nick. Say hello, Nick.
Howdy, howdy.
Joe. Say hello, Joe.
Hello.
Kevin. Say hello, Kevin.
I don't know what the hell that was, but I'm officially disturbed.
Tony Atlas, man.
Yeah, come on, man. Tony Atlas.
And Harrison. Say hello, Harrison.
Hi, everybody. Garvin, I was going to get a cardboard cutout made of me sitting in a chair so you can put it next to you. So that way when you do that, you could be looking at me just like you were for 2 straight weeks, because it's not disturbing.
No, you know what? I feel really lonely. I still have the chair here. I still have the chair here. I still have the mic set up off camera.
Do you still have do you have like all of our stuff? It's like I have the sweater that you wore. I'm not gonna wash it.
I may have run my hands once or twice over the chair seat. I may be doing that right now.
Oh. Welcome to FTW After Dark, everybody.
Well, my name is Garvin. I'll be moderating tonight's conversation. If you're listening live, we'll be pulling in your comments from the live chat throughout the night. A bit later on, we're also going to be discussing the topic on what experience has been better for you as a wrestling fan, watching on TV or attending a live show. I attended 2 events this week, thanks to my trip with Mike Kupak and Lee. So I've got some things I want to kind of throw at you guys, but I want to hear your opinions too. So if you have an opinion on that and you're listening live, leave a comment in the live chat or tweet using FTW Live. I'll be monitoring Twitter as we go along. But first, let's talk about Money in the Bank. That was the big pay-per-view over the weekend. Quite a lot of news came out of it. Specifically, let's just start from the very beginning. Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan had his segment during the kickoff. We all predicted that this would be him coming on to say, that he's ready to go and he's going to challenge for the title at SummerSlam. That's not the case. Apparently, he's not regaining the feeling in his arm. He's not getting to the point where he can even think about coming back. Many are speculating that he could be out at least 6 months, maybe even a year. He might need another surgery. So let's talk about this. I mean, what do you think this means for the landscape of WWE?
I think we kind of saw it. I mean, I guess this gets right to the end of the show, but I can do it without spoiling that for those who didn't see the pay-per-view. I think that WWE had to make some changes really quickly since Daniel Bryan, the guy that they apparently were pinning a whole bunch of storyline on, it seemed. They had to make some changes and go in a completely different direction, which we're seeing. But yeah, it's a bummer. It's a bummer to hear about Daniel Bryan being injured and out, but better play it safe than have him come back and have something catastrophic happen. If it takes him 2 years, I hope the WWE sticks with him through all that time, keeping him signed. I don't know how long he's signed for, but if his contract were to run, I would hope they'd re-up it because he's an amazing talent, and this is just a terrible setback.
Yeah, I don't know where the estimates of 6 months to a year come from. From what I understood, his initial injury wasn't terribly serious, and it didn't really sound like he was going to be away for a long, long time. From what he said at Money in the Bank, it just sounded like he was going to be out a little longer than expected. With that said, SummerSlam probably is out of the question, but I don't see why it would take about 6 months for him to come back, especially if he is going to be getting another surgery. Of course, you got recovery time from said surgery, but I don't know. I'm thinking we might see him back before Hell in a Cell.
It's possible. I mean, I don't have the transcript on me. I'm going by memory, and for him to say that there could be another surgery, I think that's where people are starting to speculate. You know, another surgery because he's already been out for a month.
Mhm.
I could have sworn that he said something about yes, there's going to be another surgery, and he could be out 6 months to a year. I thought.
Well, yeah, you know, when you hear that, I hearken back to the Shawn Michaels back injury, and that's what really worries me. Now, I'm not saying it could be akin to that, but you know, he has minor surgery on his back, and you know, the Undertaker casket match, whatever. His minor surgery on his back that didn't do with it. He had major surgery. He was out for a very, very long time, and they thought he might not wrestle anymore. Now, I'm not saying that's the same thing as Daniel Bryan, but you have to ask the question of is this a similar situation, and is he going to be able to heal properly? God, I hope so. But
Yeah,
you
they
have
might
to ask
uncover
the
something
question.
bigger.
You have to be concerned.
Really, the more this goes on, the more I worry that we're running into another Edge situation where we're having a career-ending injury that is not something that is going to keep him from functioning, but it's something to where it's like, if I come back and if I wrestle again, any given moment, I'm just walking out with, you know, it's Russian roulette when I walk out there, and one of these days there's going to be a bullet in the chamber. For me, it sucks. The guy is an amazing talent, hands down. I mean, there is no dispute about that. And I can't think of anybody who's going to look at this and go, no, you should come back. We need you. I mean, everyone's going to want to
the
rest up.
WWE universe.
That's a lot of speculation. After Cena won, I'm willing to bet, yeah. They'd be like, God damn it, just get your ass out there.
All right. Yeah, I think for me, I am disappointed. Obviously, I think everyone's disappointed that we're not going to get Daniel Bryan back in the ring for a while. There is that fear that you know, it always felt like the upper tier of WWE was regretting putting Daniel Bryan in that spot, and as far as a main eventer, as a title guy. It always felt like he was kind of disrespected, at least everyone talking. So, you know, there is that fear that when they do bring him back, it'll be a while before he gets his title shot again. So, I don't know. So there is that fear. But WWE has to move on. We're going to move on. So let's do it. So, Money in the Bank, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 matches. 8 matches in total. I think 3 of them were basically fillers added after we had talked on Tuesday. Nothing major from any of those 3. But let's just run down the card as we saw it. Tag Team Championships. Usos were successful in their defense against the Wyatt family. For the Divas Championship, Paige defended against Naomi. Cameron did not get involved. Adam Rose defeated Paul Revere, which was Damien Sandow for the night. The contract Money in the Bank, Rollins won. Stardust Goldust defeated Rybaxel. Rusev defeated Big E. Layla defeated Summer Rae. And in the World Heavyweight Championship match, Cena won. So out of all these matches, guys, what was your favorite match of the night?
Well, mine was going to be the contract Money in the Bank match until Barrett got injured, and you were being a real jerk and wouldn't let me go back and change my pick, you ass.
Hey, I had to suffer by the same rules. We made sure to say by the end of the show it had to be
I
switched.
know.
So suck
Garvin
it
was
up,
still
Sherlock.
editing. Okay, Garvin was still editing the show, so does that count as part of the show? All right, anyway.
I actually wasn't editing at the show. I was exporting at the time.
I just remember seeing news of that injury and simultaneously experiencing feelings of disappointment for Barrett's behalf and then rubbing my hands maniacally when I thought about how that would suck for you guys.
Well, because when that news broke, all I could think is Rollins. God damn it, let me pick Rollins.
Nick, that's kind of like crying while masturbating, isn't it?
A little bit, yeah.
Wow.
Wait, hang on a second, Nick. Just so
Yeah.
it's clear, you cry when you think about us while you masturbate?
I didn't say that. Somebody's putting words in my mouth.
As long as that's the only thing.
That's not a word, dude.
I
Onomatopoeia?
Yeah, the contract Money in the Bank match, hands down. Rollins Ambrose, it was good all around. But yeah, I really wish I could go back and pick that, redo that pick. Damn you, fate.
I think I have a couple different favorites. On the one hand, I think the match that I enjoyed the most was Ryback versus the Dust Brothers. I'm still madly in love with the idea of Stardust.
I think he's doing a great job with that gimmick.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just blowing me away with the range he's displayed. Like not just from Cody Rhodes to Stardust, but just over his career. Like how he's not a bigger deal is beyond me. But I also have to really give it up to the contract Money in the Bank ladder match, because I mean, holy crap, those spots. Especially that suplex that Rollins took onto the bouncing ladder. That was insane.
Yeah.
That was pretty epic. That was a solid match. I mean, the fact that they made sure that there were good spots for everybody in that match. It wasn't like it's pretty much filler for Rollins. I mean, they made sure everybody sold that damn thing. Everybody had a legit shot, and you thought, like, holy crap, they're actually going to let Swagger win this? At least I had that moment. I mean, Kofi, when he set up the ladder and shit, man, I was surprised. I was really surprised. Everybody had a moment.
Yeah, there were at least a couple times where I had one moment for Kofi and one moment for Dolph where I didn't care about the predictions at all. I just wish they could just go ahead and make that climb, grab that briefcase.
Yeah. Another good match. It was like you said the tag team title or the Dust, the Dust to Dust and Ryback. Great. That was a good match. The Usos Wyatts was even better. Like they changed their music again. I don't know if anybody else comment on that one.
Let's talk about the music. Did you think it was a good change from what we had before? Do you think it fits?
I'm not really a fan of the kid starting it out. I mean, that was good when it first happened that night, but I don't necessarily think that should be part of an entrance.
Yeah, it was very awkward. Like, I don't think they should have used that audio unless the kid was bringing them out. If they would have clipped that out, I think it would have been a better fit. Anyone else?
Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think for me the matches of the night were, well, it was the contract Money in the Bank match. I think there was a lot of nice spots. The Kofi spot, exactly what you guys are saying. It was nice to see that tease that we could possibly get Kofi, we could possibly get Dolph. I was really interested in that. Obviously, that's who I picked. The whole Rollins versus Ambrose side of things really was a great touch. Mm-hmm. But that tag team match, Usos versus Wyatt family, that was a fantastic match. Outside of that, though, what else was there that was, really good for you guys? Because for me, I was there. I was live there. Going off of the crowd reaction, it didn't really seem like a whole lot of the crowd was into Money in the Bank. It definitely flew. It wasn't like a boring show. I was talking to the people around me, as well as Lee, as well as Mike, and it didn't seem like anything was ignorable, but or at least getting boring chants or anything like that. But there was nothing else that really got that big pop like you got in the contract Money in the Bank match like you got in a tag team championship match.
I really don't see why, because this is a pretty good show overall. It should be mentioned, Paige and Naomi absolutely knocked it out of the park. That was a fantastic match. Especially the way they opened it up with... that was just prison rules right there. The way they went all over the damn place. I don't know if they were making a statement with that or anything like that, but I mean, it definitely made one.
Yeah, I mean, I think, Nick, I'm with you. I think it was a good show. I think the problem was Money in the Bank has set such a high standard, particularly lately, that, when it's kind of the same thing at, WrestleMania, that they sucked for the last few years because it's so built up, and this one was actually worthwhile. But, it sets such a high standard, and it's something that we've come to expect, that it probably wasn't on par to the last few, but it was still a pretty damn good show. So, it's tough. WWE can be their own worst enemy sometimes, and I think this was one of those occasions where that happened.
I'm reading the live chat. Yeah, I'm reading the live chat, and I guess on TV the crowd did seem louder for the rest of the show. What not John Harris is saying is that people seemed dead for Big E versus Rusev, but everything else seemed rather loud. I actually thought it was the opposite. If I could think of another match that had a lot of crowd interaction, it was that match. Because, and I know that specifically because we tried to get as many USA chants going as possible as we sat next to Lee, and that was a prime opportunity for it, and the majority of the arena was with it. So, yeah, I don't know.
I want to see Lee chant USA.
He does it sarcastically,
in his
though.
British accent.
He does it sarcastically, and then he says, he just makes fun of it, like it's just the dumbest thing in the world.
Nobody can understand him, though. That's the problem. Is because if he can shout penis in the middle of a crowded restaurant and nobody understands what he says.
What was he ordering? Water? Isn't that what he was ordering one time? And the waitress took forever to figure out what it was he was saying. I want to say it was water.
We had the same issue in Boston. He ordered water. It took it. He had to say it 5 times, and they brought him a Budweiser.
Oh, same thing, right?
Nice, Nick.
That being said, he does like Budweiser.
Yeah, it worked out.
But for him, it's an import.
What's his problem?
Oh dear. All right, so yeah, let's talk about Rusev and Big E real quick, because a lot of people are complaining, not necessarily about how Rusev is being pushed, although you are getting a little bit of that, but it's more or less about the basic treatment of Big E and how he went from really high stock, and we were all really hoping for what could be coming with him, and now he's losing. Now he's losing pretty much every match. He did have that little hint that he was going to break out of the submission by Rusev, but outside of that, it was basically Rusev destroying him. So where do you think they're going with Big E? Is this what we are going to have to come to expect from now on, or is this just his lower end of the cycle?
I hope this is the latter thing.
I mean, he's going to need something, and I think there's definitely something there. He's good in the ring. He could use some polish. He obviously needs to work on his mic skills. But at the end of the day, I still think that they have something there they can work with. And there probably needs to be a repackaging. Maybe a heel turn wouldn't be a bad idea. Try something new with him. But I don't think this is the end of Big E. I think that would be unfortunate if it was. You got to give him another shot.
Yeah, I'm hoping that this is just the low tide, if you will, of what's going on with him. It seems like another textbook example of how Vince wants to handle things, and the WWE at large, is that you give somebody the world, then after a little bit you take it away. And Big E should have the tools that he needs in order to react to that, to build himself back up, if they let him be him. And the way he's kept on using the preacher voice, that makes me think somebody higher up saw the first time and thought, "Hey, that's hilarious. Keep doing that." And just like everything else cool that happens, like fandangoing or what have you, they just have to keep driving it into the ground until it gets old hat and tired and nobody wants to see it.
Yeah, and in the live chat, it's being discussed, that Big E has everything you need. It's just that as of late, every time he has promo time, it just comes off really awkward, and no one really knows how to react to it. So whether he's doing that Southern Preacher thing, which is really strange and out of left field, or Joe, that post game interview he did once he lost the Intercontinental Championship. While hilarious, it was totally unexpected, and it was hard to know how you're supposed to react to it. So maybe he's just awkward. Maybe he has the tools to be funny. Maybe he has the tools to deliver good promos, but for some reason, since he's had the opportunity since holding the IC title, he's just not delivering.
That could be. I mean, they loved him in NXT though. I mean, he had a good gimmick there. I don't know if they're just waiting. I don't know why they're not pulling the trigger. Maybe it's his, I don't know, breasts. Just with everyone's been making the jokes about him having huge tits.
Well, higher ups like Kevin Dunn are notoriously anti-woman, so.
That's true. Good point.
All right. Well, outside of that, though, John Cena is your champion. This is pretty much what most of us expected. I think there was some hopes that Kane would win or Orton would win, or there was even some talk about Cesaro and Bray Wyatt, Roman Reigns, but Cena seemed to be the safe pick. I'm not sure how it came off TV. I did rewatch part of the pay-per-view, but I didn't rewatch that match. In the arena, it actually was very loud for his win. Not boos. It was mostly like our section was probably like the loudest it got in like a consistent sound, which was a lot of clapping, a lot of some cheers, I guess. I don't know, it was kind of like a middle of the road reaction, but he did get a mostly positive reaction for that win. So I don't know how it came off on TV, but what do you guys think about John Cena as your champion once again?
They need a strong face in the role, and that's what they did. They obviously weren't going to have Daniel Bryan back, so it's not like he could have thrown his name into the hat. Maybe that's what they were going to plan on doing if he was healthy enough. Or maybe he would have won it. But yeah, they need a strong face right now because who else is there? Who else is at even near that level besides Cena after Daniel Bryan?
Yeah, in retrospect, we probably should have seen that coming, like all of us, not just a few of us. Because this is WWE's established pattern. Whenever a top name gets injured, be it CM Punk or Daniel Bryan, what do? They always go back to Cena. They always go back to the safe route. And that's understandable. It's a pretty justified way of doing things because, I mean, you put anything on Cena, he puts it on his back and carries it. I guess I can't say I'm disappointed, but I don't know. Yeah, I'm okay with Cena as champion.
We all wanted better. We all wanted something else. But I agree with you. At the end of the day, I think this is the logical choice. When you're forced to scramble, when your hand is forced in a situation like this, go with the old standby. Is it ideal? Probably not. But the situation isn't ideal. So, what you're going to get from Cena? He's going to do a good job. He always does. And, he'll probably have it for a couple of months, and then somehow, somebody else will take over. So.
Now, does anybody think there's a chance in hell that Rollins will take it from him?
No,
What's
and
that?
I absolutely love what they did on Raw with the angle with Dean Ambrose. I think that's a fantastic way of doing this. Sets up a definitive possibility that this isn't going to happen, and still saves face for Ambrose if there or Rollins, excuse me, if Ambrose interferes. I thought this was genius. I mean, to put this all together with that sort of a dynamic, I thought that was a great move by WWE Creative.
I don't see Rollins picking the belt up from Cena. I mean, like you guys said, I mean, Cena does make a wish all the time, and the WWE definitely cashed in one this time. They were backed up against a wall. They needed someone that can carry a show, and Cena's the guy. He's always going to be a guy that can carry the show. Love him or hate him, he's a main event, and he'll do his job, and he'll do it well. Now, as far as how long this is going to be, I can't see it being very long. I think at this point, WWE is just stalling and just, trying to put something together. And they know that Cena will buy them time, which is what they need right now. Not like in a negative way, but with Daniel Bryan's prognosis looking rough for at least the next few months, you got to stall. And so, yeah, Cena's going to do that for you. He's going to buy you time. That way and I like it because that means if WWE does come out with something, they'll have the time to do it right, and they're not going to feel rushed and have to either throw Rollins prematurely at the title or something terrible would happen.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly it. There was a lot of talk after it happened, like, once again WWE shows that they're not trusting their younger talent. That's what we read over and over again. That's something else that was being discussed in the live chat. And at the end of the day, you look at everyone else in that match. You look at anyone else who has been built up in that main event title race. The title picture, and you've got mostly veterans there. Sure, you could take a chance like putting the title on a guy like Bray Wyatt or Roman Reigns or Cesaro, but you're taking a gamble. You're taking a chance, and none of them are at that level yet consistently. I mean, Roman Reigns just got there, but putting it on a guy like Cena will allow the product to continue to run, continue to go, while they figure out what they're going to do. We don't like it. Yeah, it's this again, 15-time champion. We're tired of seeing it, just like we're tired of Hogan. We're tired of whatever. But out of everyone in this match, I think that was probably the best bet.
And look at this from WWE's perspective, and Garvin, I completely agree with you. What if they put it on a young guy and it doesn't work? Look how good these guys are doing. What if it doesn't work for Bray in particular? How far back does that set the character? Look at this they think of it as a worst-case scenario. We think of, it's wine and roses, Now, you have to look at it from the other side, from WWE's perspective. What if it doesn't work out and they put it on one of those guys? That sets that character so far back. They're trying to build them up to be something better and waiting for the right time to make them champion. So just look at the other side. It's not always what we were on, what we want to happen.
Yeah, and it's not saying that Bray won't ever get the title or Bray won't get the title in the next couple of months. That's still a possibility. Same thing with Cesaro. Same thing with any of those new guys. Roman Reigns too. But you can't, like, we talk about how bad it is for WWE to book on a whim and just in panic mode trying to fit these pieces in the last minute. And realistically, we can't complain that they do that, but then expect them to do that here. I think this is the safe bet for everyone. So, okay,
absolutely.
So that was Money in the Bank. No titles changed hands outside of the Money in the Bank, obviously getting it. I think for the most part, many of us thought it was a good event. Nothing majorly bad, nothing majorly wonderful, kind of above average, basically. So, you guys disagree, or you guys agree?
I concur.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, let's talk about pay-per-view picks before we move on real quick. This week's totals. Harrison, you got 2 correct picks.
Yay!
Joe, you also got 2 correct picks. And Lee, myself, and Nick, we walked away with 3 correct picks. So 3 out of the 5 matches that we picked. So, okay, it was okay overall. Pay-per-view totals for this year. At the bottom is Lee. This was Lee's first official pay-per-view that he picked. Followed by Harrison with 9, Kevin with 13, Scott with 20. Joe, you've got 23. Nick, you have 27. And I'm sitting at the top still. 29. I'm hanging.
I still maintain there's corruption. You are FIFA, Garvin. You are corruptible, and it's been shown.
That is a serious allegation.
These are serious times, Nick.
But considering the corruption and poor record keeping of the previous record keeper, I think it.
Previous administrations are exempt from scrutiny, Joe. I would like to point that out. Okay. You can't go back. We can't go back and put Bush in jail. So just drop it. All right. We're talking about Garvin now. The reign of Garvin.
No,
I contend.
You shave off the Bush.
Corrupted. Hang on. Was that loud enough? I can move my mic so I can make that face plant even loud enough. The face palm loud enough.
I still want to know who won last year.
Who cares?
We'll figure that one out.
I didn't. I know that.
All right, so moving on from Money in the Bank, obviously we saw the fallout last night on Raw. We finally got Jack Swagger versus Rusev. So can the real American stop Rusev? Start with you, Harrison.
Oh, God. Man, I don't know. I got to be honest. This Rusev is on such a tear, and putting Jack Swagger as a face. I know we talked about it last week, the idea of it and the possibilities of it. I don't know, man. It's such a weird thing. For me, I am 100% behind the wait and see. Let's give it a couple weeks. Let's see how this goes, because we're asking Rusev, a guy out of NXT, to get over. We're asking Jack Swagger and Zeb Coulter to become faces. That's a lot of, I don't know, man. I really don't know about this one. It's a gamble.
Joe?
I think it could. I mean, if this is going to be the face turn we're looking for out of Jack Swagger, out of something different, this is definitely the place to do it. I could see Swags going face and going over Rusev. He had a great showing at Money in the Bank. Swagger did. You know, he shows that he is still a great worker. And you know, if we're gonna work on some of this patriotism stuff, you know how Vince likes to do that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Bring him. Have Hulk Hogan come out and help manage him for a little bit or something. I don't know. Give him a pep talk, give him some vitamins, teach him to say some prayers.
Yeah, if there's anything that'll put Swagger over, it's the America Fuck Yeah movement. It's just tailor-made for this. I don't see any way that Swagger won't get over, at least for the duration of this feud. And I think it'll do Rusev some good, too, to be in a match that's longer than a 2-minute squash match, like, even against Big E. Big E got some offense in, but ultimately Rusev controlled the match. It'll be interesting to see him in a back and forth. And Swagger's big enough that he can actually make that look credible.
Yeah, do I think he stops him? Not completely, but if you want this to go somewhere, Swagger's going to have to win. If they're going to have it happen, Battleground, I think is a perfect place. I mean, maybe you have a Rusev win, but there's interference and Lana does something. I don't know, but no, I think if you want this to go anywhere, Swagger has to get a victory at some point or has to stand on his own 2 feet. So yeah, I think this does happen. More than anything, I'm just impressed they put Swagger in a position to actually make something happen and to actually do something, because we all know my feelings about Swagger. But I give him credit. It's obviously, I mean, the crowd was 100% behind the guy. Zeb sold it to all hell. I mean, proving how good Zeb is. But, give it credit. They put Swagger in a position to carry an angle. Now, let's see if he can. That's the real question.
Yeah, real quick, Kevin. I think you said this would be the perfect time to do it. Going into Battleground, really, instead of Battleground, it'd be a perfect place at Capital Punishment. We need to bring that pay-per-view back. Yeah, I mean, for me, I think the crowd has always been behind the We the People thing. Yeah, it's been that gimmick, and that's another thing that we can all stand there and do together, and it's funny, especially when Lee is standing next to you. But I think, I think overall they don't really have to change anything. It's just that instead of going after people who are generally faces, now he's just going after Rusev. But I don't think he's going to have to change what he's saying. I don't think he has to change anything about anything really. I mean, it's just a matter of they've always been pro-U.S. They've always been pro-America. Now they're going after someone who is anti-America, so it makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah, I'm with you for the most part. I think they got to change a little bit, like the flavoring of what they're saying. Like before now, it's always been like anti-immigrant. Like it's always been America first, but it's always been like the crazy inbred redneck side of it. But now it's like just simply America, fuck yeah. Like no ifs, ands, or buts.
Yeah, but I guess my only problem with this is that I think it's almost too soon to give Rusev a loss. So I don't see this stopping at Battleground. I think this goes to Battleground, maybe a DQ finish like you guys are talking about as far as Lana getting involved. Then this goes into SummerSlam. I think SummerSlam is when Rusev finally gets conquered. So, but we'll see.
SummerSlam.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I guess I could see that. I think at Battleground you'd have to make it the first instance where Rusev actually looks like he's in trouble.
Yeah.
Like put him in the Patriot lock, but he gets out of it.
Yeah, and either he walks out like a count out or a DQ in some fashion. All right, so we also had 3 returns at Raw. Miz, Jericho, and AJ Lee returned. Miz came out with a somewhat new look, same attitude. Jericho interrupted, which was pretty amazing. It's rare to see a return get interrupted by another return. And then AJ Lee returned to challenge Paige for the title, and she took the Divas Championship. So we've got a new Divas Championship. Basically, same way it was won last time. So kind of an odd situation that they've created there between Paige and AJ Lee. But who are you most excited about right now? Harrison?
Miz, hands down, because I just want to hear how much you guys hate that idea. AJ Lee, but I'm kind of bummed that she won the title right away. I feel like that, I mean, I don't know. There's precedent for it. It's not the end of the world. I know it's not going to be the end of this feud, but it feels rushed, and I really, when her music hit, I got really excited because I was like, oh wow, this is the match that we've been waiting for. Now that Paige has some experience under her belt, AJ's coming back. This is going to be a fantastic match, like an actual match, and we didn't really get that. We got kind of a squash, and then now AJ Lee has the belt. So I don't know. I always liked AJ Lee when she was chasing the belt as opposed to when she was defending it. We haven't really seen Paige chase for very long. So, yeah, I mean, for me, it's AJ Lee, only because I really like the dynamic between her and Paige. Miz is tired and Jericho's old.
Well, you couldn't have AJ Lee taking a lot of bumps because she is pregnant, as we all know.
She looked really good for a pregnant woman.
Oh, internets. Joe, your thoughts on this?
Actually, out of all 3, I'm going to say Miz. I know Jericho's going to be working, and we obviously see Jericho's going to be working with Bray. That'll be good. But I like the idea of Miz. I want to see them do something with him because we know he's a good talker. He's got a great personality for the business. I mean, as a heel, definitely. He knows what he's doing. He's been champion, so they can try and build them back toward that. I like Miz. I've always liked Miz. I think Miz can be a great talent. Again, AJ, that just seemed rushed. It was like, well, we need AJ to go work on Punk for a while. Giggity, giggity. And so we'll put the title on Paige, and when she comes back, we bring AJ back, we'll just slap the title back on her. That's all we can do, you know? I don't know.
Can I just say, was anybody really irritated with all the CM Punk chants?
No. Every week or just this week?
Just this. AJ Lee comes back. AJ Lee comes back. One of the most dynamic divas we've had in recent times. And what do we get? They're chanting for CM Punk. It's like, really, you people, you need. He broke up with you. Let it go. Stop following him on Facebook. Stop trying to send texts and then deleting them right away so you don't send them. Stop drunk calling your friends and saying, I still love him. I wish he'd take me back. Just let it go. Let it go.
See, I was only okay with it because everyone knows she got married to him.
Yeah. Well, they're not married, though. They got engaged.
No, they did get married.
Did they get married?
No, they got engaged. I didn't know the wedding happened. I thought the wedding was later.
No, the wedding happened.
Congratulations.
I'll find the links.
Fact check that, sir. All right, Kevin, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm actually with Joe. I think it's the Miz. As shitty as the Miz got, the burial and all that, I'm with Joe. I think he's a great talent. He's great on the mic, good on the ring. I mean, he's got a lot going for him. So I think at the end of the day, it's the Miz if they put him in the right situation and actually want to do something with him again, which we'll only wait and see. But I don't think that they would have brought him back like this and kind of this sort of a debut if they didn't. So I'm echoing with Joe. I think it's the Miz.
Well, I really thought I was going to be alone on this, but I guess great minds think alike. I would have been most excited about Miz coming back because he came back as heel Miz, and we've all wanted that. Like, ever since he turned face and started getting buried and then just started getting obnoxious. Heel Miz is obnoxious, but in a way that you can actually stomach. Like, heels are supposed to be obnoxious, obviously. Those three returns last night were all kinds of stupid. Like, why do you waste a return of somebody that can work as well as heel Miz just to have Jericho give him a code breaker and then immediately get attacked by the Wyatts? Like, what does that say about Miz? For that matter, what does that say about Jericho when he's wasted on that? And AJ Lee, like you guys said, that should have been a huge return leading to an awesome feud with Paige where they battled back and forth to try and get the belt. And then it's just they've been in two matches. One takes the belt from the other, and then the second match, the other gets it right back. But what does that say about Paige, first of all? I mean, she's got enough experience under her belt where you can't really say with any legitimacy that it was a fluke that she won. But for AJ to come right back and take the title back in the very next match they have, that kind of does scream fluke.
Not necessarily, because if you look at Paige's career so far, she has defended the title numerous times. So to me, it seems like it's more of like no one could defeat AJ Lee except for Paige. No one has been able to really defeat Paige. You know, we'll skip the whole Alicia Fox briefly, but you know, no one has really been able to take Paige to task except for AJ Lee. So this does build a rivalry between the two, and that was one thing we were really looking forward to with AJ, is someone coming up and giving her a rivalry. The same thing could be said about Paige. We really wanted to see something happen. Alicia Fox really wasn't delivering it. Sure, we'd like to see Naomi in there, but Naomi versus Cameron is where they're probably going to go. So you bring AJ back, and you've got an instant rivalry.
Sure, and that's why I said you can't really call Paige's win a fluke with any legitimacy, because, I mean, she has shown that she can back it up. But,
yeah,
I mean, this move does kind of seem like Paige was just holding the title until AJ could get back. And as shitty as that is, as much as we know that Paige is so much better than that, I mean, what does it say about the WWE's take on the whole Divas division if they're just going to completely throw away all that development as soon as AJ comes back.
I don't know if I agree with you, because for this I'd rather wait and see how they go with it, because they could do some cool things with it. When Paige came up, we never really saw the Paige that we saw in NXT, like that ruthless, aggressive anti-diva in NXT. We never really saw that here in WWE. This gives her that opportunity because now she's chasing after something. Now she's going after AJ for basically taking the title off her. She wants that title, and that race is going to be awesome if that's the direction they go.
Yeah, I hope that's the case, because like we've all been saying, that feud could be amazing. Like, could be filled with match of the year contenders, but I mean, just given the way they handled that return last night.
Yeah. Well, we don't see anything from AJ, like it's being said in the live chat. I'm sorry, from Paige. If we don't see anything from Paige in the next couple of weeks, she goes back to NXT, then yeah, this was bad. This was a horrible move, and it makes Paige look really horrible. But let's wait. Let's wait to see what happens. There's a lot of positives that can happen out of this. So, all right, let's move on from WWE. We're going to jump into some TNA, but first, Battleground. We're going to be previewing WWE Battleground on Tuesday, July 15th, 2014. FTW213. That's 2 episodes from now. Really feels like we're getting into major overdrive right now with WWE and pay-per-views. So, but anyways, that's coming up. We've got 2 matches officially booked right now. World Heavyweight Championship, obviously the main event. John Cena will defend against Orton, Kane, and Roman Reigns. The Intercontinental Championship will be on the line in a Battle Royal. So far, Cesaro, Kofi Kingston, Damian Sandow, and Great Khali have been announced. Other possibilities, we've got Dolph and Summer Rae. There might be a partnership there after what we saw on Raw versus Fandango and Layla. Triple H versus Roman Reigns. I don't know if we see that at Battleground, but that seems to be the direction to go in, so that might actually be held off until SummerSlam. Ambrose versus Rollins is another match that obviously they are building. And then the Divas Championship, AJ Lee versus Paige. So those are your possibilities, but hopefully we'll know more within the next couple of weeks. So let's jump into some TNA. Obviously, we didn't talk about TNA last week, so we're going to talk a little bit about some things we've missed, but also what happened this week on Impact. First thing, Kurt Angle is the new director of operations, the wrestling operations. So basically, MVP got removed from that position by the board of directors, which was kind of awkward, just because I wasn't aware they had that power to just come in and do that. But Kurt Angle is now in that spot. What do you think about that, Nick?
I do like the move. It gives Angle something to do while he's recovering from his knee surgery. And it makes a lot of sense. I mean, he's a veteran presence in any company you could think of. He's got a lot of credibility as somebody in touch with the wrestlers. I don't know if he's got a lot of credibility as an authority figure before now, but that veteran presence ought to help with that. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of this. And I don't know if, just touching on the board of directors saying, I didn't necessarily think they handled that awkwardly, but I don't know. They don't really go to that well nearly as often as WWE has. And for good reason. I don't think there actually is one, since TNA isn't a publicly traded company. But I mean, it's a nice plot device that they can fall back on whenever the authority figure on screen just goes berserk with power, and there really is no actual recourse to removing them except to go to this fictional higher power. So, I mean, there's a purpose served.
Yeah, no, I agree. It just felt strange that here's a board of directors member out of nowhere, or at least a representative. It just seems odd because to get that spot, MVP had to win a match basically, and for a board of directors to step in at this point to stop him just seems kind of odd. That's all. But I also agree. I agree it's a good move. It's nice to give Kurt Angle something to do. He's always been pretty good on the mic. Him in an authority role is nice. And the other thing I thought was really odd about this, and sad really, is how Angle talked about it. He talked about how he was going to be different from MVP, and that is that MVP has things to accomplish, while Kurt Angle, as a wrestler, doesn't have anything left to accomplish. I mean, that's pretty much what he said verbatim. So it's almost as if Kurt Angle's basically saying he's not going to be wrestling in TNA again. Did you get that vibe?
I can see where you get that, but I took that more as, I mean, MVP was corrupted because he has ulterior motives, whereas Angle, since he's done everything, there's not really anything left for him to go for by parlaying that authority position into that. So I guess I took away the idea that Angle's incorruptible. He's going to be an actual authority figure rather than a tyrant.
Okay. Yeah, I think there's a lot of positive vibes I get out of this because it does separate MVP from that. So it's not an authority going after EY or the title anymore. It's now a stable of wrestlers versus another group of wrestlers. So I think that's pretty cool. So I'm better with that than another underdog versus authority. Some other news that came out of TNA. TNA's got a few new bodies in the tag team division. We saw the official teaming of Willow and Abyss. Plus we've got Magnus and Bram. Potentially Gunner and Samuel Shaw. That seems to be what they're leading to. Will these teams last as fixtures in the division, do you guys think? And if so, do you like these teams? Nick?
I think they all serve a good purpose. Gunner and Samuel Shaw, like, again, it hasn't been made official. They haven't actually gotten the ring together yet, but I think that could be an interesting tag team with Gunner kind of mentoring Shaw back to, I guess, mental health. I do like this brewing feud between Willow and Abyss and Magnus and Bram. I especially like the pairing of Magnus and Bram because Magnus has been settling into this role really well, and I've always liked Bram, both since he came to TNA and back in NXT when he was Kenneth Cameron. He plays that almost feral, not psychopath, but kind of like approaching that line. He plays that role really well, and I think he does it a lot of justice. Magnus has done surprisingly well in that role. I wouldn't have thought that was something he could fit into. But yeah, these two teams going at each other, I think it serves a really good purpose, especially with the Monsters Ball match they just went through. Obviously, that's Abyss's wheelhouse, and you could argue that Willow kind of falls in there as well. I never would have thought that would be Magnus's wheelhouse, but he did really well in that. And was I the only one that really liked Willow and Abyss's promo leading into that match, where Willow asked if she was going to attend the ball? Thought that was pretty nice.
Yeah, that was. I think that Willow and Abyss is an interesting combo, especially because Abyss is crazy, as we know, and Willow's just as crazy. I like it. I'm with TNA saying, that Matt Hardy was going to be back. I wasn't sure what's going to happen with them. I like Magnus and Bram together, just like you said, and yeah, Gunner and Shaw do have a lot of potential. So I'm hoping that these guys will stick around in the tag team division and make it something worth watching. Because as I've always said, tag team wrestling has become a lost art. There haven't been a ton of great tag teams. There's always these tag teams where guys are thrown together. It's going to happen. It's just the nature of the business now. But if they can make it worthwhile, then it's cool. We saw it with like Team Hell No in WWE, or I mean, there's been a number of tag teams throughout TNA and stuff like that that have been interesting too. But yeah, I want to see a true resurgence of tag team wrestling, and if TNA can do it, more props to them. Hope these guys will be able to do it.
Yeah, and just looking at the whole landscape of the tag team division, Wolves. You've also got Bromans and the whatever they're doing with the Menagerie. They've been doing some tag team matches as well. So adding a team like Magnus and Bram does add another good team. I'm looking forward to Magnus and Bram versus the Wolves. I think that'd be good. Gunner and Sam Shaw, I think, would be a good mix. Willow and Bess, I'm not totally sold on. Not totally sold on. So, but outside of that, I think these are all good moves. I think Magnus and Bram have a lot of life to them. I think Gunner and Sam Shaw probably don't. I think that's going to end up being a match at some point. Maybe Bound for Glory, maybe after that. But yeah, I don't see them staying together for very long. Speaking of more new things, Taryn Terrell is back, and apparently better than ever. So she came back and basically got right back into the swing of things, going after Gail Kim. Mostly verbal. They're very friendly. Obviously, this is Taryn Terrell's return. She's been gone for about a year, I think. And yeah, it was nice that they transitioned right into them talking about their matches and transitioning into upcoming matches that they were going to have. So I know I'm extremely excited about this. What about you guys? Do you like how they brought Taryn Terrell back, Nick?
Yeah, I thought she was brought back in the best way possible. I mean, for Gail Kim to be the one bringing her back after the barn burners they've had, I think that was pretty special. And I like that they hinted at it at the rubber match. Like, even though that'll probably have to be delayed for a while, just given their animosity with the beautiful people. I'm definitely looking forward to that eventual match. But I think Taryn is eventually going to be gunning for the Knockouts title. Like, something, I don't know if that necessitates something happening to Gail Kim, like a storyline injury or something, but however it comes to pass, I think she'll hold Knockouts gold by the end of the year.
Joe?
I could totally see that. I like Taryn. I always have. I liked her when she was in WWE as Tiffany, and then the fucking Layla Stole Music. Right after she beat up Drew McIntyre. Hardy har har. No, I thought she did really well. I just like seeing her in the ring. I think her and Gail Kim will have some good matches. I don't care how they use her as long as she puts on that red dress again, because giggity, giggity, giggity. Oh my god, she is looking really good.
Yep.
I will not disagree.
Boy.
All right, so some more new things. Tommy Dreamer is back. He is back in TNA. He's basically a part of the quote-unquote upcoming TNA NYC tapings. And so, yeah, a lot of cool stuff happening, but Tommy Dreamer is back. They're talking about how he's going to bring back some guys from House of Hardcore, and a lot of House of Hardcore guys were from ECW. Do you enjoy the fact that they're bringing some of these new guys, or some of the ECW vibe back into TNA? So like a Dreamer, we've seen Devon. So do you like doing that, especially as they head into New York?
I like those two guys. I mean, who else are they gonna ECW in here? If you're talking PJ Polacco, I'm not all as enthused. Tracy Smothers or something. At that point, I'm like, really?
Yeah, I do like the cross promotion aspect of it, especially since they are going to be in the same building that houses the Hammerstein Ballroom, which is just iconic as far as wrestling goes. Um, as for who might who else might come along from House of Hardcore, like obviously we have Dreamer and Devon. I'm not really current on who's been making major appearances there. Like I know Rhino's big in that promotion, but beyond that, I don't really know who else besides uh, maybe Matt Hardy, but we already know he's coming. So I I'm excited about the potential there because I know that other former WWE names or big indie names pass through that promotion. So it'll be interesting to see if anybody comes along.
I'm having having a really hard time talking about TNA right now, just because everything that we're talking about, I'm aware of. So we don't talk spoilers on the show, but and real quick, I just want to dip into this real quick, but unfortunately, well, no, I won't say unfortunately. Fortunately, I had the opportunity to go to NYC for the tapings on Thursday, but the problem with that though is to be up to date on Thursday of what I needed to know to see that event. I had to read 4 weeks worth of spoilers, meaning I am 6 weeks ahead of everyone on what's going on with TNA, and that makes it
Wow.
so difficult. They have taped into August, then they've got more tapings in NYC in August, at the beginning of August. So I'm holding my tongue, but I will say you guys need to get excited about TNA. I don't know how this is going to come off on TV, but I had a blast on Thursday. There was a lot of great wrestling, and the crowd was completely into it. And I heard Wednesday's tapings were the same way. Friday's tapings were the same way. Thursday and Friday were both sellouts. It was fantastic. So I don't know. So be excited. There's a lot of cool things happening. One of those cool things, something we didn't talk about last week really, but well, actually we did touch on it. Six-sided ring is coming back. I don't know when that's going to debut on TV. But the six-sided ring is coming back, and that's pretty cool. So let's not talk about spoilers. This is so hard. Bobby Lashley is your TNA World Champion. We all know that. So we had talked about EY's title reign, how we liked it, but it didn't seem like it was getting the reaction probably that the company wanted as far as ratings go, as far as just general good vibes from, and we could blame that on booking, and we could blame that on EY like some people do, but overall, looking at EY's reign, do you think it was a successful one? And considering they haven't completely taken EY out of the running yet, is there a chance he could be champion again?
There's a total chance he could be champion again. I don't think his reign was a failure. I just think it came at a time where they weren't sure exactly where they're going to go. Only because EY's a guy who is a great worker, and he's been with the company forever. You knew he was going to hopefully get a reign at some point, and it was an interesting one in that he was a fighting champion. Every time he got into a match, he defended that title, and he won. He made an interesting character. Like, at any point, he could have lost the title. That's interesting. You know, I liked that. I thought that was a good idea. And it gave Eric Young a new dimension. I think they could continue with that. You know, now he's going to be on the fight back to get that title. And, I mean, they've got a lot of options to go with that path, too. So.
Yeah, I think it was a good reign, absolutely. I don't think of it as a failure. If there's any sense of failure around this, it's purely based on what the fans were expecting from it. When I say fans, I mean specifically those that kept comparing it to Daniel Bryan's reign, like for whatever reason, just because he's got a beard and he's the underdog. And just like Joe said, I love the idea of the fighting champion, and it's not like he ever had bad matches.
Mm-mm. No, I think EY's reign was good. I enjoyed every match that he was in. It was all down to booking. I didn't like the story that was being told. Not on EY's side, on MVP's side. I think once we hit that wall where it was MVP versus EY, that's where I lost it with me. So I don't know, but yeah, I think there is definitely a possibility to have EY back. I think, I mean, as champion, I think that'll get a big pop if it does happen. One other thing we didn't talk about last week that was the major announcement. TNA is taking their biggest show of the year to Japan. Do you guys think that this is a mistake, or is this a stroke of genius that TNA is taking Bound for Glory live to Tokyo, Japan this year?
I'm a little surprised they're taking the biggest one. You would think you would give it a shot for something to be a little smaller scale, but still, has a lot of pub. So I am surprised they're taking the biggest show to Tokyo, but I mean, Japanese wrestling fans know what the hell they're talking about. So I'm not going to sit here and say it's a bad move. I will say that I am surprised by the move. But we'll see how it works out. I'm not going to sit here and say it's a bad move by TNA. They're trying something different and seeing if maybe they can expand over, expand the horizons of the Japanese audience. So we'll see.
Yeah, I'm pretty much in line with Kevin here. This announcement did take me by surprise. TNA has laid a little bit of groundwork. They have had a couple shows over there, namely that the Kaizen Outbreak, where Sonata actually won the X Division title. And from what I can recall, that did fairly well. But regardless of whether this move was expected or not, they definitely have all the pieces they need to make this a spectacular show. Obviously, this is TNA's biggest show of the year. It's being held in Korakuen Hall, which is to Japanese wrestling what the Hammerstein is to American wrestling. It's just a legendary, iconic venue. There won't be... It's not a big one, but, I mean, it's got a lot of history associated with it. And obviously, Muda's going to be there. He's going to have his name and prestige attached to it. Who knows if there'll be any more Wrestle One cross promotion there with more of their guys showing up at the event?
Is Muda actually going to be there, or is it going to be like that time you said he was going to be there and he wasn't?
I would be incredibly surprised if he wasn't there, given that it's in Japan.
Yeah, Muda should be there. That's his promotion, right?
I just wanted to check, just to make sure.
Harrison?
Everything, like Nick said, everything that TNA is doing about this, they're doing it right. It is Bound for Glory. It is their biggest show. Thing is, though, TNA does really. I gotta be surprised. Well, the one thing I'm surprised about is they're not doing it in England. But if they want to do it in Japan, I don't see why not. WWE really isn't interested, or at least doesn't seem to be very interested in doing overseas shows at the scale that TNA apparently wants to do. So why not get out there? I think this is a great opportunity for them, and like Nick pointed out, they're picking the right venue. They're gonna have Muda there. They're using the right promotion to help out. Everything about this says the TNA is taking all the steps they need to in order to make this thing successful, and for that reason, total stroke of genius.
Yeah, I'm not as sold on it. I think this is going to be difficult to do, mainly because Japan is at least 12 hours ahead of us. So just the timing of it would be odd, considering it's going to be pay-per-view. So that means pay-per-view for the U.S. So
it doesn't mean it's airing live in the U.S. though.
But wouldn't that hurt pay-per-view buys if it doesn't air live? Like if people could just get spoilers?
Yep. But if you want to see it, you got to pay.
I don't know, it just seems.
Either that or I mean, I know the Japanese culture. I mean, people there are extremely polite. If they say, "Please do not post the results of this online," maybe they'll listen. I don't know. Or they'll keep everybody quarantined in a building without internet for a good 12, 13 hours for it to air.
In Japan, are you nuts? They'd go crazy in there.
Well,
It's like depriving Americans of fast food.
I did find out that this will be held in the same day as a New Japan event in the same venue. Like, Bound for Glory will be happening earlier, and then afterward there'll be a New Japan event. So, two things. First of all, you may have a little more something like what Joe was suggesting than you might have thought, because I could see people staying around for the New Japan event. But the second thing is, do you think that would hurt TNA, or would that have any effect, do you think? Like, having those two events there in the same venue on the same day.
I think it could help. I mean, it could help, but because people are going to be more interested in watching both shows. But, I mean, that's kind of like the problem with a lot of indie shows, right? Is that they're too damn long. That might be way too much. People just get freaking bored and leave.
Yeah.
Too much. It's overkill.
I'm with you on this one.
Yeah, and there is some. I mean, I think it could help, but yeah, that is a long time, especially because there is the idea going around about how TNA might do a day show, so they could technically air it live, or an hour behind or whatever. So like right now in Tokyo, so in Cleveland, on the East Coast it's 9 o'clock at night. In Japan right now it's 10 o'clock in the morning. So for them to do it like at normal time, it would be 9 o'clock in the morning. I don't think that they could do a day show at that time, like a first thing in the morning.
What's a morning show? Go on down, pancake breakfast and a TNA show?
Yeah, I think I remember seeing, I don't know if there was an actual time assigned to it, but I think it was like early afternoon that they were going to have the event.
So it would still be really late for us then. Like if they do later in the day, like say at noon, I mean that's 11 o'clock at night or 1 a.m. at night for us.
Yeah.
That'd be hard.
TNA After Dark.
Yeah. Hopefully they figure that out. I will be interested in seeing how.
I watched Formula One. I watch Formula One, and they do all over the world. I've watched races at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're
welcome
also
to my world.
clearly insane.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to
Little
be up at that time anyway, so I'll watch it definitely. If it's live or not.
There you go.
It is possible, but I don't know. I don't think. I mean, if pay-per-view buy rates are down as it is, I can't see this assisting in that. I mean, on demand for sure, like next day kind of thing, maybe, but I don't know. I think this is going to be a struggle for them. But it does show that they are expanding their audience and that they are growing, despite some of the negativity they do get here in the States. So.
Yeah, and TNA always does well overseas, so.
Yeah. All right, cool. Let's jump into some Ask FTW. Amandeep from Google Plus. She asked, "Are you surprised TNA fans don't chant for AJ Styles the same way that WWE fans still chant for CM Punk?" I'm gonna start with you, Harrison, because you were already diving into why you don't like the CM Punk chants. But are you surprised that TNA fans aren't doing the same thing for AJ Styles, even though AJ Styles kind of quit TNA? Kind of.
Yeah, but he did it after a long career that had it had its ups and downs, but it wasn't on the rise. Like you can say CM Punk. You can argue that AJ Styles hit his peak and was starting to decline when he quit. Look, AJ Styles went out at the best possible time. CM Punk was still on the rise. He still had a bunch of years left in him. He was still doing some of his best work, and it looked like some of his best work was yet to come. And for that reason, people wanted to see him chant like that. Plus, in TNA, there isn't that John Cena Boy Scout character that the IWC, for whatever reason, seems to hate. So when AJ Styles quit, it was like the end of an era, but it was very much like, I'm trying to think. It's like, I don't know. When Van Halen changed lead singers, it was like, okay, you're moving on, that's fine, but, this isn't the end of the world.
So you think so what you're saying is you think TNA was just more tolerant of AJ leaving because he had a longer career in TNA.
Yeah.
But you
a
didn't
longer
think,
career, and he did his thing. I mean, he won the title multiple times. He built the company up to where it was, and there wasn't like this opposite character that everybody loved to hate. Like there wasn't a John Cena that's so polarizing. That like the IWC, the people who chant CM Punk, their argument obviously is we're sick of this John Cena character being jammed down our throats. We anointed the anti-John Cena in this guy CM Punk, and now he's gone. So yeah, this is our forgotten hero. This is our hero that we refuse to forget.
okay. Kevin, do you agree?
Yeah, I think Harrison's right on in a lot of cases. I think Punk represents a lot of what the fans want WWE to be, whether or not it, regardless of what is going on. I think Punk represents what, the guy's always done it his own way. He's done his own thing, yet still put on a phenomenal product, along the time that he was in there. So, and that's not to say that that's, anything against AJ, but it doesn't have the same feel. Punk seemed to have this connection with wrestling fans that not a lot of other guys, I think, have really truly had like he did. So I that's nothing against AJ. I just think it speaks to how important Punk was, particularly in the era that we just watched, and the whatever you want to call it, the reality era or whatever it might be. So.
Yeah, you guys, I definitely agree with you. AJ's and CM Punk are just two completely different people, two completely different characters. AJ Styles, in most cases, he very much is that John Cena character with the incorruptible kind of Boy Scout angle. It's just his style is much more vibrant than anything John Cena usually produces. So he doesn't have that same kind of polarizing effect that Cena does because he's just white meat babyface. AJ's a little bit like that, but his style is anything but. Whereas Punk, he's definitely the anti-hero, the voice for change. He's the embodiment of what the IWC says it wants. Whether they stick with that message or not is a completely different story. So I'm not surprised that fans of TNA don't do that. I am surprised that the Impact Zone crowd doesn't. Well, let me rephrase that. The Impact Zone crowd chants enough stupid shit that this definitely isn't needed. They don't need to stoop to that level because they've already gone so far below that.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at this that, like we'd said, AJ Styles had accomplished so much. He had done everything in TNA multiple times over. He's won every title that they had. There wasn't anything more for him to do. So, while fans wanted him back, they wanted him there, we still felt Punk had a lot more potential in WWE. At least that's the impression I got. That, there was more Punk could have been doing. There was more we wanted to see out of Punk. And the fans feel that it got ripped away. And that's why we still get the CM Punk chants.
Yeah.
And that's why we don't get the AJ Styles chants in TNA. Because it's not like we're all sitting around going, HBK, HBK, HBK. He accomplished everything. There wasn't a single thing left for him to do. Especially now that the streak's been broken. That was like the only thing he could have done. Unless you join the Vince McMahon Kiss My Ass Club or something. There was like nothing left. And that's where AJ is. I think that's why we don't get that reaction with AJ, but we get it with Punk.
Yeah, this is being tossed around as well in the live chat. You know, AJ left because his contract was up. He didn't re-sign. He didn't necessarily want to. Given the deal that they were trying to give him. Plus, fans can access AJ Styles in ROH and GPW. You've got that access on YouTube to see his videos and whatnot. So you can still access AJ Styles right now. However, you can't do that with CM Punk. CM Punk left and has put his life into this big mystery that everyone likes to speculate on and stir up rumors and start internet drama about. Another thing to note is that, generally speaking, while I disagree with you, Harrison, on AJ had accomplished everything he could accomplish in TNA, and he had his best work done ahead of things. I think what he was doing when he left was really good and really compelling. So I think there was still room for AJ Styles in TNA, and I think fans do, or at least would have wanted to see that. It's just that there's other things going on, and TNA is still doing interesting things that at least the TNA fans are appreciating. Not, the rest of the internet websites aren't necessarily giving TNA the credit they deserve on putting some interesting stories out there or quality wrestling matches. But there is good things out there that the fans can cheer for and get involved in. While in WWE, the AJ with CM Punk, yeah, you guys are right. He left like in the middle of the story. He left when he was still really hot. And the other thing is that WWE isn't satisfactory by any means, by any stretch of the imagination. They aren't putting out quality stuff, and it's really easy to cheer for CM Punk because you're bored. You're sitting there bored, and because this is not what you want to see. You want to see CM Punk, or you want to see Daniel Bryan, especially now that Daniel Bryan is gone. I think we're probably going to see more chants for CM Punk. And the other thing is we know, as internet wrestling fans are trolls, we know that we are getting under the skin of WWE and the wrestlers, so they're going to keep doing it. But it is unnecessary. I wish it would stop because Punk quit. He quit on us. Bastard.
Do you think if they started shutting down those chants more, like you see sometimes with TNA, like I remember when EC3 he was having the "You can't wrestle" chants thrown at him, and he just that immediately. Like, I disagree. I'm very good. I disagree. I'm very good.
Yes.
Like, it just played along and kind of diffused that. Do you think that would change anything if the WWE kind of followed suit?
No.
Ripped off TNA, as it were?
No, I think they have tried to do that. They had Paul Heyman come out and play into it. They had Stephanie McMahon play into it a little bit. So I think that they have attempted to do it and to shut that up. But yeah, it's not. I think we're going to be hearing those chants for a long time. I think those chants are incorrect. They should be bring Punk back or something along those lines. And they always come at really odd times as well.
Come back, Punk. He quit. I mean, it's up to him.
Yeah, for sure.
You don't think WWE would leap all over him if I'm telling you, if Triple H looked down at his cell phone, it was Punk's number, you think he's going to let that one go to voicemail?
Yeah. But the other thing to note is
that would be great if it's right in the middle of a live segment.
Hang on, everybody, I got to take this.
Hey. Hold on, it's Punk. Hold on.
The entire arena gets really, really quiet, and you hear one guy starts getting up, and everyone's like, shh, 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 shh.
Dude, I'm in the middle of taping a segment on Raw. What do you mean you know you can watch me? What? Fuck you. Click.
Another point being brought up in the live chat from Versi Jones. I think it's also because WWE have stopped referencing Punk, removing him from ads, footage, basically the Benoit treatment, and showing that they have resentment for him. That the fans are, back. They're backlashing that. They're going. They're rebelling. I don't know. I think
that's not Benoit.
Well, no, it's not the Benoit treatment as if he's Benoit, but just the fact that they're trying to erase, his place. They're trying to avoid any reference possible for him. So I think that's part of it too. But at the same time, I should note there was a real brief CM Punk chant at the TNA show, and it got cut off by other fans that weren't going to put up with that shit. We also saw that at Money in the Bank, and there were many fans that as soon as that started, many fans were getting up and telling the rest of the crowd to shut up. So I think it's not necessarily just. I think at this point it's just the trolls in the audience that aren't there to necessarily enjoy the show that they're going to see. They bought their tickets way ahead of time, thinking that maybe Punk was going to be there or whatever, and or are just there to get have their voice heard on TV.
It's the Occupy Raw movement.
Yeah. So.
Which was awesome and totally worked.
Let's move on from that. I've got a question for you guys. I posed this to the Google Plus community and Facebook and Twitter as well. Just after my experience in New York and Boston this week, what do you guys prefer, watching wrestling on TV, be it TNA or WWE, or would you rather attend a live event?
I'd rather attend a live event, but that being said, they've got to be decent seats. If I'm up in freaking nosebleeds, it's not as fun. I mean, it's always great to go if you've got good friends who enjoy wrestling as well, but it can be difficult if it's a lackluster show and they really have to rely on the commentary to get through it, and you're a fan in the audience and you don't hear that commentary. I mean, granted, on one hand, hey, I'm not listening to King, but on the other hand, I'm not hearing, how to install the WWE app, and that's really a problem. Because if you don't hear that five times in one night, what are you going to do with your life? Okay, fine.
Kevin, your thoughts?
Yeah, it's a tough call. I mean, it's because you do get the announcers, you do get a little bit more of the hype, but it's still always amazing to be there and say that you were there when that happened. I'm going to actually say TV, but I love going to a live event. I think it's really fun, but half the fun of wrestling for me is being, like, particularly pay-per-views, is being with the crew and just kind of talking about the matches and debriefing and being surprised about that stuff and and what we think's coming next and all that. So I think there is an element where it lends itself more favorably to TV in some ways. So, and it is supposed to be more of an entertainment industry. So I'll say TV, but just barely.
Yeah, I've got to lean towards TV just from my own personal experience. Like, I've been to a TNA house show, and it wasn't that great of an experience. Like, the show itself, the matches that were put on, they were great. I saw Joe and Magnus against Austin Aries and Rude, and that was a fantastic match. Both the wrestling involved and Aries and Rude just hamming it up. I think TNA does really well with the house shows on that respect. On the other hand, I was in a really shitty arena that was about half full, and the friend that I was supposed to be going with bailed on me at the last second, so I was sitting by myself with people I didn't know. So it wasn't that great of an experience from just being a fan in the audience. So I still want to go see like a TV taping, either for Impact or Raw or SmackDown even, but just from my own experiences, and given that I'm pretty much a homebody anyway, I have to go with watching it on TV.
For me, man, I haven't been to a live wrestling show in ages. When I did go, it was a WWE WWF house show. I forget if it was around the WWE WWF changeover. Um, it it was fun. It was kind of cool, but you miss a lot with being on TV. Plus, I've never really I'm not a really big fan of live sporting events. I like sitting in my living room. I like sitting on my couch. I like getting up and going to the bathroom and not having to go past 15 guys and waiting in line at a urinal that smells really, really terrible.
Oh,
Which
you love guys.
normal human urine should not smell like that, especially when applied to walls liberally, like it has been. I don't like
Yeah, but the
crowds.
taste-
I don't like.
Tastes good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like crowds. I get claustrophobic. I'm not a live show kind of guy. So I prefer TV all the way. And yeah, you're stuck listening to King and the WWE app, like Joe mentioned, but there's always the mute button, or I can put music on, or I can just sigh, write it down on my phone, and then reference it later on the show and make fun of it with you guys.
So, all right. So from the live chat, we're getting kind of mixed, but mostly it's along the lines of with all the different camera angles and comfortable seating, and you can see everything, and you do have the commentary, so you do have that story being told. TV mostly wins, but obviously being involved in the live atmosphere is an experience in itself. I went, obviously you guys know Lee was in town, so we went to Raw in Cleveland. Then we went to TNA in New York City and Money in the Bank in Boston. So over the last 2 weeks, I've been to 3 live events, 2 WWE, and obviously one for TNA. Well, two for TNA if you count.
Well, hang on.
The tape 2 shows. What?
I was about to say, yeah, it's technically 2 TNA shows you saw.
It's technically 2. So my experience, and I'm basing it specifically on this. Like I've always gone to, if I've ever gone to a live show, I've enjoyed my time there, but mostly because of the atmosphere. But I've always missed something. Seats were always the issue. Like if you sit on the floor, but you don't get in the first 2 or 3 rows, you can't see a damn thing. We were 5 rows back for Raw, and still struggled to see everything. Even though we were on the aisle and we had the whole, if you guys remember from a couple weeks ago, Dean Ambrose and Rollins were fighting on the outside. We were right there, and even though they were like 4 people away from me, I could not see a single thing, and that sucked. That really hampered the experience. Going to an indie event, though, Joe and I and Kevin, we've gone to events at Clash Wrestling in Michigan. It's nice to be able to go to an event like that because of the smaller venue, because there's less people, and because you know that what you are saying is being heard and you're interacting with the wrestlers. So you reacting means something. I totally get that with an indie wrestling show. You start chanting someone, and they can play into that. The wrestlers can play into that. The managers on the outside can play into that, and that's really cool. It's really cool to experience a wrestling event from that side of things. I don't get that with WWE events. Even 5 rows back, I don't feel like I was in a position at that point to really be able to interact with the wrestlers. And that's the main reason why you go to a live show, is to be able to get into the event and feel like you're a part of something. I don't get that from WWE. I don't know if it's just because they're so big. Even with 5 rows back, TNA, on the other hand, if you have an opportunity, especially with the August shows coming up in New York City, go. That was the most fun I've ever had at a wrestling event. It was a small crowd, so we're talking maybe 1,000 people. So it was a small venue, but everyone was involved. Everyone got involved in every single match. We were 2 rows back, so I was able to slap hands with a few of the wrestlers, and that was really cool to be able to interact and feel like you're a part of the show. So for WWE events, I would be fine never going to another WWE event again. I would be fine watching those at home because, yeah, you guys are right. Camera angles, being able to know what's going on at all times, I'd rather have that. But for TNA, I'd rather go to a show like that than watch it on TV, even though they tape it so strangely. Like, I don't know because I don't know if this gets talked a lot about as far as in spoilers and everything, but the way TNA tapes events, or at least these two, is they tape like the first half of one show, then went into Destination X, and then at some point transitioned into the end of the first show. It was really strange, but it was great. It was just constant wrestling, constant involvement, and yeah, it felt like I was a part of something.
Yeah, I'm completely with you on the TNA experience. Like I went into how shitty everything surrounding the show was as far as the venue and whatnot, but the wrestlers' interactions is what made that show for me. Again, Austin Aries and Bobby Roode, they were spectacular, not only in that match, but before the match when they were coming out. There is some older redneck dude like by the aisle coming down. He's yelling at him, swearing up and down that Sting is going to come out and destroy the both of them. Sting wasn't booked for the show, by the way. And they just played right into that. It's like asking the crowd, do you guys see Sting anywhere? The redneck's pointing up at this corner in the ceiling saying Sting is going to show up right there. It's completely lit. Nothing's there. And they're just giving this guy shit like up and down. It was absolutely hilarious. And that was a constant for the rest of the night. Like the wrestlers, I don't want to say the WWE wrestlers don't care about the audience, but it's obvious that the TNA wrestlers do care about interacting with the crowd.
But I think that the TNA guys get a better opportunity to do that because they're not selling as big of a venue.
Sure.
Because I've seen the TNA. I've done the TNA house show, and it was a nice small venue.
Well, the first house show.
Yeah, it was one of the first ones. But it was interesting because, they could hear you. They could peck at individual voices and react. Whereas when you go to a WWE event, even if it's a WWE live event, there's still a shit ton of people. It's almost too much.
Yeah.
So even if they pick out one person, it's hard for everybody to see that guy. Whereas TNA, be it pro or con for this, but with the smaller venue, if some guy's talking, shouting at Samoa Joe, and Samoa Joe turns around and gets on the mic, it's like, hey, blah, 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 shut the fuck up, blah, blah, blah. At least it's closer to everybody else because there's not as many people there to deal with. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Yeah, totally.
And you can say the same thing about like going to a baseball game. We go to the Indians game or a Tigers game or whatever, and it's very apparent that you are not being heard as an individual until everyone is doing whatever chant you're doing, or your cheer, or when a home run is hit and everyone's popping. That's when you know you are being heard because everyone's being heard. You go to like a AAA or a AA, like one of the smaller league baseball games, and you can sit a couple rows back in the bleachers and be able to heckle the shit out of one of the outfielders on the opposite team, and they hear you and they will respond. And that's nice. It's just a nice feeling. Otherwise, you're just watching a baseball game. You can do that at TV without getting sunburned.
So I haven't been to a live indie show. It's on my bucket list of things to do, though. But I have been to a lot of live. I've been to live concerts, and there is something to be said for the difference between being one of like 50,000 people in an outdoor, festival setting, watching a band that's like a quarter mile away, versus being in just a small, intimate, ideally dive bar where the band is surrounded by a chain link. A chain link backdrop, and the audio is terrible, and the quality, everything, the quality's awful. The entire place smells like stale beer, but there's something more real about that. It's an ECW arena, yeah.
Yeah, there is something to be appreciated by a WWE show. It's so big, and there's just so many people, and that's cool. That's cool to be a part of, for sure. But just the overall experience, I'd rather watch it on TV. If I'm there for the actual event, for what happens in the ring, we don't even get all the segments. Like we can't, like a lot of the segment, the backstage stuff, we don't see live. So
Or even all the finishes.
yeah, so I don't know. It's just I would much rather watch for something that big. I'd rather watch on TV. But for something like a TNA show or an indie show, I'd much rather be there live to experience it and to be able to feel like I'm a part of, or I'm actually interacting with what's happening, not just sitting there twiddling my thumbs. So, okay, cool. Good discussion.
Plus
guys.
no commercial breaks.
Yeah. All right, Deuce Loosely in the Facebook group. He was bringing up the fact that John Cena now has 15 championships. So he's one away from tying Ric Flair's championship legacy, the record. So do you think that WWE is trying to overshadow Flair's championship legacy with someone whose title reigns we mostly all lament rather than romanticize?
I don't think so. I just think that, at this point, you're not truly main event talent unless you have at least 20 or at least double-digit title reigns. I hate the fact that I get Flair having 15 title reigns or 16 title reigns. I get it because he wrestled since like the Stone Age. He's been wrestling for a very long time, and these are all titles within various companies. NWA, WCW, and WWE. You're combining, plus other places, right? You're combining all of these to make this 16 or 15 or 16. John Cena's done them all at WWE. Why does one man in one company need 15 world championships? Why? That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think this is the WWE's motive, be it blatant, ulterior, what have you. I could kind of see the appeal of that, just with having Cena, the clean-cut Boy Scout, as the top champion, I guess you could call him, rather than Ric Flair with what he's descended into now. But I don't think that's the goal here. It's probably a nice side benefit to have somebody recent have that sort of record, but yeah, I don't think this is what the WWE is pursuing at all. Especially since Cena holding a title probably was a panic move.
I mean, I get that it's a panic move, but still, I mean, how many panic moves did they have to make to get him up to 15? I don't know.
I look at this as being almost like in a different era of wrestling. I mean, I don't think it's just Cena's the most obvious of what has happened, but the title changes hands a whole hell of a lot more than it did back when Flair was holding it. So I don't want to sit here and say that it's WWE, shitting on Flair in any way, because I don't think that's the case. But I look at it as a different era, and in this time in particular, I just don't think they had a whole lot of choice but to put it on Cena.
Okay. Yeah. Anything else to add to this, guys?
Not really. I mean, for me, I think if you look at the extracurricular activities between Ric Flair and John Cena, if you had to pick a more deserving guy, I'd say John Cena. But Ric Flair was, Ric Flair had a really varied career, though, and Cena kind of hasn't. I mean, outside of Thugonomics, he's kind of been the same character. I mean, Ric Flair's been a face, a heel, the Four Horsemen. I mean, he's kind of done it all. So
But
I
he
don't
still
think-
had a very similar role in all those. I mean, the character didn't really change.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's a good point too.
But still, I mean, like I said, it's broken up. That legacy's broken up into so many companies, or so many feds. Whereas Cena,
Yeah,
you're
that's
right. It's one place.
It's one place, one character, one guy, and for me, yeah,
I mean, he's fluctuated the character a little bit. He's had. I mean, when he came in, he was just like, what was it? What was his nickname when he came in from OVW?
Prototype?
Prototype, yeah, he was the prototype John Cena. So he came in, he kind of had that, where he was just like this fit dude who was winning. Then he became the Dr. Thugonomics. Now he's fucking Superman. I mean, the character has changed. He's had personas. But damn, 15 fucking, just bothers me now. This is why I drink. It's a fucking John Cena.
I gotta be honest, Joe. If that's why you just change the channel, man. Just watch USA Network, watch a police procedural, and just
I
enjoy
would
yourself.
watch the USA Network, but that's not going to help because John Cena's in the fucking commercials for fucking Raw.
Oh,
that
damn
airs on USA.
Well,
I
there's
mean, I
nothing.
could go back to watching the new TNN. Thanks, Booker T.
There's nothing wrong with drinking.
Nope.
Damn right, there's not.
All right, for me, I don't think this specifically is overshadowing Ric Flair. I think, I mean, every record is going to be broken regardless of how we feel about it. I don't think this is going to overshadow Flair. I think what like you guys said, what Flair did off camera is probably more looked at than his 16 title reigns. I think 16 title reigns is just another thing that they throw out there as far as stats that the newer generation really doesn't care about anyways. So, yeah. But regardless, let's move on to win fail. What are your wins of the week, Joe?
I'm going to go with the Money in the Bank contract case match at Money in the Bank. I like the fact that every guy got a great moment. They got that Money in the Bank moment. Nobody seemed to get shorted. Everybody seemed to have a legit shot in that match.
Nick, your win of the week?
I just enjoy the fact that Rude is back on TV and he's taking a dominant role. And after EY gets his obligatory title rematch, I think he might be next in line for a title. So good on TNA.
Kevin, your win of the week?
My win of the week is the Swagger face turn. They actually got me interested in Swagger, so that almost defaults to being my win. The question is, of course, can he carry it? We'll have to wait and see. But to get me interested in Swagger in any way, I have to give Creative a pat on the back there because that's saying something. So definitely my win of the week was the Swagger face turn.
Harrison, your win of the week?
Hands down, Ambrose and Rollins. These two guys are kicking ass. I remember when it was talk about the Shield breakup many, many moons ago, and we always said, well, what's going to happen is these guys are going to fall by the wayside as everybody starts to really zero in on Roman Reigns. These two guys are just knocking it out of the park at each other. And I really think that there's going to be an almost like next level between these two and the work quality that we get out of them from what they were doing in the Shield. It's going to be kind of, I don't want to say like Team 3D, but it'll be kind of like that, where it's like, wow, these guys are really good to the Shield, but as singles wrestlers, all three of these guys are amazing.
All right, from the live chat, we've got We the People. Jack Swagger finally getting a face push against Rusev. People looking forward to that. We've also got the Money in the Bank ladder matches, Jericho versus Wyatt, that feud that it seems like they are building. Paige versus AJ Lee, which hopefully is what we're going to get. Jericho returning with no hype, absolutely no even sign that Jericho is going to return. Orton's Crimson Mask, TNA's tapings, and Ambrose versus Rollins. Nick, you've got another win you want to add.
Yes, this one took place on Twitter. It was last night from Raw, and it was right around the time AJ came back. And I took the opportunity to mock every dirt sheet in existence that claimed that AJ was pregnant. And Lou came back with the retort that she got her hands on Triple H's Plan B. So that explains a lot.
Wow.
That's awesome. Oh.
And that is why I always miss Lou dearly when he's not here for the show.
Agreed.
So
My win of the week is going to be TNA in New York City. You guys, I'm really hoping it comes off as well as it did live. I've heard nothing but good stories from Wednesday's tapings. Obviously, Thursday's tapings, which is what we went to. So many positives. So many cool things happening in TNA coming up. So stay tuned. This is going to be a fun ride. So let's go to fails. Joe, your fail of the week.
My fail of the week is Layla versus Summer Rae with Fandango as the guest referee. Oh, really? Really? I don't know. It just does not capture any interest.
I do like the fact that they're bringing back the live show appearance of the Hollywood Blondes with Summer and Dolph.
Yeah, but what do we have to sit through to get to that? You know what I mean?
Very true.
Nick, your fail of the week?
The way the WWE handled those three returns last night, they could have been spaced out and given their own chance to shine, and especially Miz. I think it's so much of a waste to have a potential main eventer in heel Miz. I mean, he did it once, to just waste that and feed him to Jericho, who's not really the top name talent that the WWE and Jericho try to sell us that he is. So, just a big waste all around.
Kevin, your fail.
My fail is the guy on Raw who held up the sign that said, "I miss Edge." Yeah, we all miss Edge. He's out with a freaking catastrophic injury that put him out of commission. Stop being a freaking emo douchebag and holding up an "I miss Edge" sign. Why don't you hold up something actually relevant towards what's going on instead of "I miss Edge," a guy who was forced out of the game because of an injury? Thanks.
Yeah, why don't we have Edge chants?
Because we know he's not coming back.
Thank you.
Can't we know
Not
that
everybody does.
Hence douchebag with an "I miss Edge" sign. Yeah, we all miss Edge. Thanks, buddy. Way to come strong on national television.
I can only imagine how you'd react if somebody held up a sign that says, "I miss Taz."
Harrison. Oh no. I will say I do miss Sarah Taker. Harrison, your fail?
My fail is it's similar to what Kevin said. My fail is the CM Punk chance. He's not coming back, folks. Let it go. Especially when AJ Lee comes back to go up again. I mean, this is the feud that we want. This is the match that we want. Now that Paige has some time underneath her in the big leagues, and she's starting to really settle into a pretty strong character and a good ring presence. And what do we get? We get CM Punk chance. Not AJ Lee chance. Not thank you, AJ. Not welcome back. Not yay. Just CM Punk chance. You guys, seriously, just stop the Facebook stalking. Let it go. He doesn't love you anymore. We're done. Just, it's a clean break, okay? This is starting to border on a complex.
All right, fails from the live chat. We've got everything involving Kane at Money in the Bank. Santino and Adam Rose shilling Twisted Tea. That was super cheesy and annoying. I will agree with that. The Money in the Bank fillers. The Boston crowd. I can agree with that. Yep, and that's it. That's all from the live chat. My fail. I really don't have a fail. I can agree with all of those. As far as the Boston crowd, they were super quiet, but my seats were very comfortable, and I could see everything. So kind of torn on the Money in the Bank show. All right. Final thoughts. Anyone have any final thoughts to add before we head out?
Yeah. One, I'm incredibly jealous of your trip that you and Lee took to hit some truly remarkable landmarks in the United States, including apparently WWE's offices and Cheers, which is awesome. But if people want to see how Lee got to experience the United States, you can always go to leeintheusa.tumblr.com, and you can see all of the hijinks that Lee got into, or at least a small portion of them.
Very awkward hijinks.
Yes.
I'm posting a link in the live chat right now. Yeah, it was a good time. I could have dealt with less Lee. Yeah. Anyone else have final thoughts?
Tim Howard, greatest goalkeeping performance of all time.
Yes.
Doesn't matter the result.
Absolutely.
That was absurd.
Yeah, we're done talking about soccer now, right? Soccer is done when we're done. That's how it works.
Oh no, the World Cup's over.
Yeah, I'm not. I have no plans on watching soccer for the foreseeable future.
You guys all.
Really? The Brazil match on Friday is going to be pretty great. Argentina's still in it. I'm with Kevin on this one.
This is where it's only getting good, man.
Yeah, really. Kevin.
The Harrison-Kevin bromance continues.
Hey.
So now that the U.S. is out, it's getting good.
Just because Harrison and I actually enjoy finer things in life. Sorry.
I'm just in a bad mood over the NHL draft and how the Canes are just screwing themselves over.
I forgot who they recently picked up, but they picked up didn't they pick up Alex Nedeljkovic for goalie?
That sounds right.
Yeah,
I don't care about the signings so much as who they let go that other teams picked up.
Oh, who they released? I didn't see that.
Manny Malhotra went to Montreal, and they let go a good prospect in Brett Sutter.
Okay.
It's like they're letting go anybody with grit or heart. And it's just... I understand why the Canes are losing all the time now. It's because they sleep through all their games. I'm not paying attention.
Nedeljkovic is a phenomenal goalie. You will enjoy him.
Sweet.
All right, cool.
Sports talk.
Good talk. All right, so real quick, some corrections or at least some clarifications from what we talked about earlier today. One of those is as far as the Punk AJ wedding, was it a wedding or was it an engagement? We have confirmed as much as we can confirm, reading off of internet reports. Punk and AJ did get married in a private wedding. SES Scoops, I guess, broke the story. Some other people picked it up, but I don't know. I didn't really find a whole lot of information about it, so whatever. So that's out there. Who knows if it's real or not? AJ's not really pregnant, so you got that. I did get the time zones incorrect as far as what time it is in Japan. It's actually tomorrow in Japan, so that does kind of throw a different look at what TNA can do as far as Bound for Glory taping. So they could do like an afternoon, a Sunday afternoon show type of thing, or I don't know, whatever. I don't want to get back into that, but there is some other possibilities there. And then Diva Jill did point out that as far as the whole Cena versus Ric Flair title legacies and records. Another thing to note is Cena made his debut in WWE in 2002, won his first title in 2005. He has only been in WWE for 12 years, 15 titles within 10 years of the first one.
Damn.
That's obnoxious.
Yep.
And something else along the same lines. Cena's been in the WWE about as long as ROH has been in existence.
Yeah.
This was posted on the Facebook group. Cena and Orton combined have about 28 title reigns between them now that Cena's won Money in the Bank. ROH has changed, and it all across the board. The top title in ROH has changed hands like 20 times. So in 12 years, they've had 20 title changes among anybody that's been in the company, and Cena and Orton have had more title reigns between them.
Yeah.
I mean, but you also have to throw in the asterisk for the WWE. They did have two top titles.
Yeah.
True.
So I mean, both those guys could concurrently hold a top title. That being said, really, it doesn't matter. These two guys should not have double-digit championship reigns.
No. Totally.
Maybe if you're including like lower card titles, like the tag team titles or the Intercontinental U.S. titles. But really, I mean, world titles. That is some fucking bullshit.
Especially given the crop of talent they came in with. They
Oh, yeah.
were in around the same time as Angle, Edge, Rey Mysterio, God knows how many others.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else before I head out?
No, that's it.
Cool.
So,
And that's the show. Go check out FTWpodcast.com for more information about us and how to get involved in the future. And join us live each and every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern on FTWLive.com. For myself, Joe, Nick, Harrison, Kevin, everyone in the live chat, we will see you guys next Tuesday. Bye.